Hello, my name is back to another private channel on Joe Booksmart, and today we're starting this brand new video where we're outlining a project together. This project is called Project BB. It's already slightly outlined before I started this video. This video was filmed a few months ago, so best believe I will be cutting out the parts that are talking about what the actual premise of this video is going to be about. Instead, because I changed it, like I do sometimes, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into a Jacob with long hair. I'm pretty sure, 80% sure. Hello, Project BB. I really hate the acronym of BB, but like, what else do I kind of call you? Because my brain goes to bareback, and I can promise you this much: it is not Project Bareback. By the way, Project BB, like the first clip was formed, I think it was like either last December or early January, and I had yet to really commit to anything for it just yet. I wrote 5,000 words, 4,000-ish words in the project, and I was like, cool, and then I put it on the back burner as I had other things that came around that I was more excited to work on, or things that I had to work on, i.e. my little sister's fantasy project. But in reality, this project has very much changed since its initial variation. Essentially, originally, I was supposed to tell you the plot of this. I can't tell you the plot of this. In a future video, like when this book is out, after this book comes out next year, I can tell you a bit more about it. But currently, I cannot tell you basically anything about it. So I can tell you it follows a single person. I can tell you that this is a romance novel. I can tell you that it deals with a lot of different tropes, which I'm very excited about to dive into all of them. And I have some very clear festering wounds and things. I know this character really well, which I'm really excited about. We start the outlining phase tomorrow, which is also very exciting. I'm gonna watch a few people outline some romance novels to see if those might pique my interest, as I'm not entirely sure fully of the plot yet. I mean, I have the romance arc, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, everything else is bare. It's so bare minimum. It's the barest of bears. I mean, I have a few, like there's one thing I can tell you because it won't last super long into the novel, which I know is going to piss some people off, but there's so many other things that are going on. I feel like hopefully it'll be okay. Fake dating is a part of this, and so I have a lot of cool ideas for that element, but that takes up the first 50% of the novel. But there's a big thing. There's a big thing that is in the novel. I don't know how resolutes. I don't know. I just like the idea of it. I'm convenient. These are all things I get to figure out in the brainstorm, which I'm very excited. It's been a minute since I brainstormed and outlined a whole new book. I just a week ago when I brainstormed and outlined a whole new fantasy cozy romance with you. That's not the point. I'll update you when I have more information. Hello, Project BB. I really hate that. I probably won't be interested in this ever again. I guess that was BB question. No, okay, sorry. We are slowly making some progress. I'm at a point where I'm at a road, okay? I have two pathways. Never once in my career of writing, never once in my writing journey have I ever plotted out the same novel twice for two different avenues. One is a lot more simpler and not as complex and kind of fun. I was reading back over, I was like, oh, that's kind of cute, and I kind of liked what I was doing with that. And I think it would appease a lot more people if I'm talking seller wise. Whereas the other one, it's screaming to me a bit more. However, I think it's going to make a lot of people upset and a lot of people mad. And I'm not sure yet in my writing journey, or at this point when this book does come out in my publishing journey, if I'm really ready to ruffle those feathers. And so that's what I'm kind of sitting here trying to figure out, because it is a romance novel, and I think I'm always going to be I don't know, is this a romance novel? Because I don't romance novels are just romance based and don't have any plot around them, and it's just about the couple. I find to be somewhat tiresome and boring, as you guys can see from my plotting and stuff. I'm a very character-driven person, and I'm a big believer that the characters should have a lot of layers and should have a lot of wants and some needs. And I understand the romances that don't do that, but that's just not me. And this is a story that is tackling some very personal, but also very big topics that are very heavy. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to even tackle them. If that's something I'm desiring to spend the next few months of my life going through, pouring my soul into, for the reception to be I can't believe you just called me out. Because that's what the reception I feel is going to be, because a lot of people in a certain way desire the type of toxicity that I'm talking about, but only in certain ways. I'm trying to be vague on purpose. And I'm trying to figure out if it's worth calling it out for. It's been called out many of a time, I'm going to be honest with you, in history of things, but I don't know if I'm ready to take that stance. And then because this story has a story within it that's already written, it's a story that I wrote that deals with a lot of heavy subjects as well, and then it's very much not your traditional type of romance because I didn't want it to be, so I didn't write it that way. Oh no, one person could say I'm just like doing the same thing. Oh god, I don't know. So I'm at this pathway, and once I figure out the journey, we can make some more progress. That will be a tomorrow thing. I'll talk to a few people, get some advice, but yeah, that's where we're at. Hello, Project BB vlog. This is simply, I'm just saying that for you. Do you think it's called Big Brother? Is that what you think? I thought about it too, and it's not, I promise you. I want to come here and update you as I've outlined half this novel, and I figured we should really take you on this journey of this first draft. We've outlined to the midpoint. The book has changed a little bit. Also, yesterday I was like, oh my god, I'm on 2 pathways. What pathway am I going to go? I'm going to go with the original path. Not the new path. I did pocket the new path. I put a new title on that little outline, cut out the big things that tied it into this story and just moved it into a different one. And then like, this is a format that we could use for a future thing. I do think I would have to change the professions and stuff as it's a little too similar to the professions of this one. However, no spoiler, I mean, slightly spoiler. It's a writer, but I have a feeling like a lot of my books are going to have to deal with writing. GSR has a subplot with writing in it. I just feel like it's going to be a thing. You know, for a fact that the Romance Companion series will have a subplot for writing in it. It's my favorite thing in the world. Obviously, I'm going to write about writers. I'm also writing about a lot of other stuff, but like, writers. This is really cute though. I'm not gonna lie. It's like super fucking cute. And like, I'm just like, oh my god. I'm like, oh my god. Because like, I know where the book's going and I feel bad. It's one of those times where I'm like, it's not gonna be like super sad or a thing to note. No. I'm not going to note it. I will talk about it eventually. There's a particular thing that happens in romance novels that I'm a very thing against. If you have read any of my, if you've watched any of my vlogs and been here for any of my reviews, it's pretty easy to pick up on, but I'm not going to tell you. I think I even mentioned it in one of my writing videos already, so you could have already known, but I'm not going to tell you here. I'm not doing a thing that a lot of people do. However, I'm still doing it. I'm just not doing it in the very traditional way. It's still going to be there, and it's still going to hit the same. I feel like. Essentially, because at this point in the novel, because I hit the midpoint, I would probably start writing the novel and then go back to outlining as I go further into the book, because I have a good idea where the second half of the novel is going to go, so I don't really need to map it out. However, I don't know how many chapters this book is, and because there is really little time difference between the things, there are weeks going in between these events that are happening throughout the novel. If we're jumping between 2 POVs, which is the first time it's dual POV first person, which I'm very excited, but also nerve-wracking. I've not written a dual POV or a multi-POV first person novel since The Ashbys, which I've not talked about on this channel in like 4 years. So if you don't know, it's cool. It's an old project. It's a very old project that I did eventually want to turn into a screenplay, but not today. No, I don't want to do it today. It's like a 700-page book that I wrote when I was in high school. I don't actually think it was probably going to be. It's probably more like a 400-page book if formatted. But either way, I wrote in high school, and I was a big fan of it, to be fair. But it was like 9 POVs. And to be fair, like on reread, because I did read it not that long ago. As I was curious just to see if it was any good or not. It was very much a ripoff of what I thought it was going to be a ripoff of. I felt like a lot of the different POV, some of them did sound very similar, and I was like, oh, that's not great. But some of them have very distinct voices, which I enjoyed. And I don't know if that's just because I really made sure that the lives that they were living around them were so vastly different. I'm not going to lie, I write a dick. Like that's such a weird thing to say. I don't mean like a penis. I mean like a straight man, okay? There's 2 or 3 straight characters in the novel, as that's when I was dabbling with adding a gay character for fun, not like the entire thing being gay, which is what I do nowadays. I'm so far off subject, I'm so sorry. He is such an asshole. He's a horrible guy. Truly awful. I was like, damn, okay. So I know how to write mean characters that just need to be straight. Good to know. Okay. Besides the point, we're about halfway through, but I need to know how many chapters it is so I can start trying to figure out like word count if I need to try to strive. I think my initial goal is going to be 70,000 for this first draft. However, I have a feeling it's going to be more towards like the 80 and 90K, but it really depends on how quick these chapters are and how long they are. Like it just depends on how nice they are floating out. I think it's going to be between 2 or 3, maybe 3.5 thousand words per chapter, and they're a continuous scene, so there is no scene breaks. That was a choice that I made. It's supposed to make the book feel a little bit longer when you're reading it, but it's not as quick as pacing, because I don't want the pacing to be really brisk in this book. And also, it just logically, and while I was writing that first chapter and that second chapter, made the most sense to have very little breaks throughout the novel. and even like for scene by scene when you're jumping, because it goes back and forth between the characters to a point, and even as you're going through the book and you're following these characters back and forth, I do think it would be interesting. And this is where I'm like, oh, I'm someone who wants to play with the structure of a novel. I'm someone who gets like really excited about playing with the structures of things. And so in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I think it'd be really cool if like when something happens towards the end of the novel, like if I start adding scene breaks. And I think it could be like really fascinating. Like it's such a particular choice that I'm doing as a stylistic choice, not having them in and adding them in. I think it would work. And this being a contemporary romance, it's like, but it could be for me. I don't know. We might try it. Who knows? I don't. That's my update. My goal is tomorrow, once again, to finish this outline. I think I should be able to get to the end pretty quickly. And if so, I might start writing it, depending on what I want to do. And then this weekend, we're working on some other stuff, but we should be back to full-time writing it next Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. I did finish the outline, and it ended up being about 3,000 words, which is by far a super long outline, especially because this is not like a scene-by-scene outline. However, that's because this novel doesn't have any scenes. I talked about that before. I want the pace to still feel like we're going through the motions, but without a scene break. So we're still covering several days in a chapter, or a week, or even 2 months, or something in a chapter, but it's paced throughout the chapter through lines of movement, which I really enjoy, and I think it's going to work really well for this novel. We did go with the 4-act structure instead of the 27 9-block structure, which, to be fair, that's just a nice structure to break everything down even further. And I just realized as I was working through it that the 4 acts did exactly what I wanted to, so I cut out that extra piece that I was working with. So it is going to be 4 acts long. It currently is slated to be 46 chapters, 45 proper, 1 epilogue. Actually, 47 chapters, 45 proper, 2 epilogues, as it is still dual POV. I'm very excited. Alright, and that is Project BB outlined to its fullest. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please give me a thumbs up, don't comment down below, talk to you, and do all the fun YouTube stuff. I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye!